Lord said to his disciples, every one of you who acknowledges me before men, I also will acknowledge before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I also will deny you before my Father who is in heaven. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Then Peter said in reply, Lo, we have left everything and followed you. What then shall we have? Jesus said to them, Truly I say to you, in the new world, when the Son of Man shall sit on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my name's sake will receive 100-fold and inherit eternal life. But many that are first will be last, and the last will be first. Please be seated. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory forever.
I think every one of us knows the name, or you've at least heard it at least one because of how unique it is. But you've heard the name Wolfgang Puck, right? Have you ever heard of Wolfgang Puck? He's got restaurants, he's got his own food line at the stores, frozen foods, canned foods, his face is right on it. Wolfgang Puck. Well, Wolfgang Puck, when he was a little boy, his mother had married this other man. There was him and his sister, and there was this other man that she had married. And Wolfgang Puck, at the beginning of his life, this guy treated him very horribly, was pretty much abusive to him. Always told Wolfgang, you'll never amount to everything. I'm not going to give you the whole story. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis, but basically told this boy, you're never going to amount to anything, give up life, don't worry, whatever it is, you're never going to amount to anything. Well, when he was young, he ended up working at this kitchen. And he started by peeling potatoes. He was little, maybe 10, 12 years old, peeling potatoes. And he was working in the kitchen at this hotel. And one day, the potatoes or something ran out, and the chef screams at him and says, you're never going to amount to anything in your life. Leave this place and never come back. That's basically what he told him. And the little boy, he runs out the restaurant, goes to this bridge. He was from Austria, okay? So there's a place in Austria, speaking German. And he goes over, and as he's walking, he can hear his stepfather's words over and over in his mind. You're worthless. You're never really going to amount to anything. And as he walked to this bridge, he looked at the water and he contemplated at such a young age, should I just end it all here now? Because he could hear it, right? And even the cook at the place, you're never going to amount to anything. Get out of this place. You're worthless. Over and over again, these things kept on ringing in his mind. Well, the next day, he gets up. He decides he doesn't want to jump off the bridge. And the next day, he gets up. And he goes back to the restaurant. And he walks in, and the cook is like, what are you doing here? I told you to leave. And he says, I refuse to leave. I refuse. I insist that I'm going to stay here and work for you. I insist. I want to cook. So, series of events, he ends up working at another restaurant, and he ends up leaving the house, and he ends up going, and he ends up opening his own restaurant. But all throughout the time, right, he ends up working with this guy at this restaurant. The guy treats him shabbily, but all the time, Wolfgang Puck, in his mind, never would forget what his stepfather told him. You're worthless. You're never going to amount to anything. That's what kept ringing in his mind over and over again. So he buried himself into his work. He ended up opening his own restaurant, became successful. If you remember, those of us who are old enough had his own show on TV. You could watch him, Wolfgang Puck's show, right? His cooking show. He made chefs a celebrity, right? Celebrity chefs. That's where it all started from, was Wolfgang Puck. I myself have eaten at a Wolfgang Puck-based diner at Disney, right? There's one at Disney.
Me
Good
too.
food, right? And so is my son, he said. I told him last night, I reminded him.
Even my mom.
Yeah?
All three of us.
So, as he progressed, right, he ended up getting married, but he buried himself so deep into his work to try to prove his father wrong. He ended up going through divorce, ended up kind of losing his way. And it wasn't until much later in life that he ends up getting remarried again. His one son actually ends up becoming a chef. And at the end, he says, the most important thing, he says, I don't know if I've ever forgiven my stepfather. But the most important thing is to never give up on yourself. Give up on your dreams. Give up on who you are. Today I bring up Wolfgang Puck as we celebrate the Sunday of All Saints. Of course, today we have the reminiscence of the bones, the relics of some of the saints that we have in front of us and over here on the throne. And today we celebrate this day because we remember all the other saints that we don't have specific days for, right, throughout the year, the Sunday of All Saints. Today's the day that we celebrate these things. Those of us who have had parents and step-parents and whatever else that we've all been raised by somebody, right? We always look back and we look to ourselves, and somewhat we're a reflection of who and what we were growing up, right? We're always a reflection of that. We're always a reflection of that person that took the time, good or bad, to raise us, right? But that is the world as we look through the lens of the saints now. You look at the world of the saints, right? There's only two types of people in this world, right? Saints and those of us who are working towards sainthood. It doesn't matter who you are, right? It doesn't matter if you've ever accepted Christ in your life. There are those that have the potential to be saints. Everybody has the potential to work towards that. Some people never embrace that path. Some people, they look at the world. The world is kind of like that wicked stepfather, right? That wicked stepfather that is there. It's there offering you something that is just very hollow. And typically, when you focus on the world, you look at the sin and all its pleasures, right? And I'm talking about not the beauty of the grass and the trees. I'm talking about what we talk about in the scriptures, the world, right? The people. Satan is the prince of this world, right? Again, I mentioned this, the cosmokrator, right? In Greek, the cosmokrator is that who has the world in his hand. That is what we do when we focus on the world. And the world, it often has for us, your marriage is not worth keeping together. Your life is not worth what it's been given to you. You're worthless. Give up hope. Your life is not worth, just go ahead and throw it away for pornography, for drugs, for alcohol. Whatever it is, that is what the world is waiting to tell you. Every time you go to it, that's what the things that is going to be repeated to you over and over and over again. But today, as we celebrate the Sunday of All Saints, we look toward our Father. Right? We use that term, our Father, at the beginning of the Lord's Prayer. Jesus, when he teaches the disciples, he doesn't say, my Father. He says, our Father. And so he already distinguishes the fact that it's our Father. Right? Our Father who art in heaven. He is there. He is separated from us in one way, but when Jesus came, he became part of us in another way. And that Father is the one that we must look towards. Because if we don't, we end up just looking within ourselves, going, I can do this. I can make it. I am the one who can succeed. But there's nothing that we should do in this life that is not for the glory of God. When we're working towards our relationships, we're supposed to be doing it for the glory of God. When we're working towards our relationships with our spouses, with our children, with everything, we're working towards those things for the glory of God. And when we look to ourselves, when we look into our own desires, that is when we start to fulfill what the world wants. That is the dividing line. Those of us that are striving to become saints, and those of us who do not. There's two choices. It's plain to see. Even when Jesus came, and he was here on earth, what he did on the cross, when he picked that up, he carried that cross for the glory of his Father. He picked up that cross for the glory of the one who sent him. The crucifixion was for the glory of the Father. It was for the glory of God. I've often told my spiritual children, who sometimes don't like what I have to say, if you can't ask God to bless you in what you're doing, you probably should not do it. If you're about to look at pornography on the computer, and you can honestly look at God and say, Lord, bless me while I'm doing this, then do it. If you're about to put a line of cocaine in your nose, bless me, you get the idea. And the same thing goes with our relationships. If you can honestly look at your spouses and say, I'm not going to fight for you, I'm not going to work towards my salvation with the person that God has given me, you're going the wrong direction. Our relationship with God should be a reflection of our relationship with the people in our lives. When Jesus came, he was a reflection. That's why people did not like him. Because when they looked at him, they had to face reality. They had to face truth. They had to face honesty and courage. And some people, they just don't like it. They don't like honesty. They don't like truth. My grandmother always told me, Demetri, if Jesus could not have pleased everyone, don't think that you're going to be able to please everyone. Jesus himself had more enemies because people could not see the reflection of the truth. But Jesus came and nothing stopped him, even though the world was opposed to him. Even though the enemy himself came to him during the wilderness, Jesus never stopped going towards his Father. As successful as Wolfgang Puck was, he never left the shadow of his stepfather. He never left it. As successful as he was, that little boy remained trapped inside no matter how old he got, and never left the shadow of his stepfather. And as long as we continue holding on to the world, we can never leave the shadow of the world. That is what it means to start releasing the world and giving our lives to God. That is what it means to start releasing and look at the truth, look at the reality, look at the glory of God and say, how can I make this place a better place with the light that I can shine? And it all begins with the relationships that you have now. Look at the person that you are married to. Look at the children that you are raising. Look at the people in the church that are next to you. Look at the people when you walk into the store. And if you're not being the light in the world, because you've got to remember, the light in the world reflects truth, but does not do it in anger. The light of the world reflects love, but does not do it in fury. The light of the world reflects all the goodness of the Father without reflecting anything that the world. Whereas the devil is the cosmokrator, God up here, in the Greek, says the pantokrator, which means he is in control of everything. It doesn't matter what it is. He is in control of it all. And once you start taking your focus off the world and the problems that are presented to the world and fully put your look and your guides to the Son of God, to Jesus Christ, you will be able to start living freely in this world. But as long as we retain and hold on to the sins that bend our will to that of the world, we can never progress forward so that we can become one of the people that are written on one of his icons. We must give up our will in order to go. That is the idea behind the Sunday of All Saints. There are more saints out there that we probably have no idea who they are. But today we remember them. And we glorify God that they have the strength that they needed to endure, some of them even to the end, to martyrdom. Let us glorify and praise the name of the Lord our God. Amen.